talk of Sioux Falls. 1140 KSOO.
It's 412 here on the Talk of Sioux Falls, 1140 KSOO. Also on Thursday, you're going to want to head over to Dairy Queen because it's Miracle Treat Day at participating Dairy Queens. And if you purchase a Blizzard or a Blizzard coupon and a minimum of $1 for each sold will benefit the Children's Miracle Network at Sanford Hospital. So that's always a big deal. We are very happy to be joined by what we've been calling disgruntled former City Commissioner Matt Staab. Matt, thanks for driving over here today. I know it's way out of your way and really puts a crimp in your very, very busy schedule.
It's extremely busy, and you were talking about the dividing line, 26 in Minnesota, and
Yep.
when I was listening,
Yep.
those are the two streets that I picked, so you and I are dead on that one.
Yeah, that was with the Common Man earlier in
And
the
the
show.
farther south I get, the less comfortable I become.
Really?
Yes.
Why is that? Well, it's because you were actually raised on the North End, as was I.
Correct. You and I both had North in our addresses, and to be
Yep.
a true North Ender, you have to have the letter N in your. I barely made it. We were at 115 North Summit.
Yeah, you had to be north of 9th Street.
Correct.
That's
9th
where
Street's the cut line.
And people don't know this. This is a little bit of Sioux Falls history before we get into the disgruntledness. The reason it's at 9th Street, people move here and they go, how come, my 2200 block isn't at 22nd Street? It's because at 9th and Phillips was the Carpenter Hotel, and that was thought to be the center of town.
There we go.
So there you go. If you're out there and you're new to Sioux Falls, that's a little bit of cocktail party trivia for you.
So you always got to add 9.
Yeah.
So if you're going to, like you said, you're going to 2200 South Van Epps, you got to go to 31st and Van Epps.
See, that's little local flavor for you folks. That's what this show's all about. We are here with Matt Staab. He served on the old City Commission when it was 5 members and everybody had a department and everybody got a vote, including the mayor. Everybody was it was a bunch of equals, right? It was a team. It was a band of brothers.
22 years ago.
Is that how long ago?
22 or 23, because my son was born when I was in office. He's 25 now.
Holy buckets. And so you were on the last city.
That was the very last Finance and Revenue Commissioner.
Yeah.
And I will go down in history being the youngest city commissioner ever elected.
Right, because you were just a pup.
27.
Wow. And how did you ever decide, you know what, I can be city commissioner? Because back in the day, it was kind of crazy.
Well, that was, if you remember, Kenny Anderson, Kenny Jr.'s dad,
Yep.
was on the city commission, and I had run his 2 campaigns.
Okay.
Well, more so the second one that he won, and became his glorified secretary. And then when he died, I had all these people say, here's some money, run.
Yeah.
We like the way you've handled yourself, and did it, raised, back then, about quite a bit of money, and actually won.
Were you surprised?
The humble, the polite, the humble part of me should say yes, but no, I really wasn't. Not because, I know he was going to win, because I had always been in politics from all through college, and then I'd worked on a couple of campaigns. The handwriting was on the wall. We had also had polling going, and we knew that it was over but the shouting. So it was nice to win, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. I was going to point out that
And I had you in my side.
What?
There at Tempest Magazine. You wrote glowing things about me. And to this day, I still appreciate it. In fact, my all-time favorite interview you and I, after I got elected, and I have kept very, very, very few souvenirs from when I was in office. My mom kept them all.
Yep.
But I still have the old Tempest when you put me on the cover, and it's one of the very few things that I still treasure from those days. So
I should probably explain to the folks that I was with some friends who probably want to remain nameless. No, Craig Ellabrook and I were 2 of the main people, and we started Tempest in 1989. So what year did you get elected?
91.
91, and then when did we switch governments? 98?
Maybe 3 or 4.
Was it?
I was only in like 2.5 years.
Oh, really? I always thought it was 2 terms.
Nope.
Huh, I got that back in my head.
They threw me out right away.
The memory I have of you from Tempest is not the one interview afterwards. It's the preview of the election with all the floating heads.
I don't remember that one. You still got a copy of it somewhere?
Somewhere. Matt Staab's floating head. It's a little bit disturbing. Anyway, what are you we got to bring people up to date here. We've got Matt Staab here, former city commissioner, and he sort of faded into the darkness after getting booted out of office in the early 90s. on 1140 KSOO. Tell Radioland what you've been doing.
For the last 10 years, 11 years now, my wife and I own Northview Bait Shop up on North Kiwanis Avenue,
Yeah.
of all things. So, and I own storage units there, too. And nobody buys a bait shop. You buy 66 storage units, whatever there are, and they give you the bait shop for free. That's what Because when I was approached, you want to buy this? Like, why would I want to own a bait shop?
Right.
Really? I mean, come on. I'm a college-educated know-it-all, and
Yes.
why would I want to sell bait? Well, there's storage units. And after 4 or 5 lunches with a few martinis involved, we pulled the trigger. And my wife and I have owned rental properties, too, over the years, so it was kind of a natural fit. And
Yeah. And your parents owned the old
New
New
Way
Way
Liquor
Liquor
at
Store
6th
on
and-
West.
6th and West, yeah.
My mother actually worked there. when
She
I was a
did?
kid. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So we have all these.
Back
connections.
from Mel. Was it Mel?
I don't know.
The guy that owned before my parents?
long
You and I
time
grew up very close to each other.
Yes.
We led parallel lives.
Kind of weird, but I knew your brother. So this is taking a turn. So you've got
disturbing one.
You've also left town, right?
I
Is
have.
this in like protest?
I ran away 14 years ago. We bought an acreage south of Brandon.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to live in the country, and
Post pictures of birds.
I do take a lot of photographs of a lot of birds. You and I are Facebook friends,
Yeah.
and generally it's the birds and the wildlife and the sunsets. And
You also got involved with township government. Right?
I am.
So
I am
that's how
now. I am now a township supervisor. Yes.
What's that like?
It's exciting. In fact, on the way over today, I got about a 14-page text from a woman. We deal with a lot of issues of road maintenance and
Yep.
signage, and if it's road related, I'm there. And today I was out checking to make sure the guys have graded the roads properly and the dust controls on them. And it's crazy. What I know more about gravel than anybody on the planet now, and that just disturbs me tremendously.
We're going to talk about trees here in a moment, but which township is it?
Split Rock.
Split Rock Township.
The largest populated township in South Dakota, and also with the biggest budget. So,
Really? What's the budget for your township? 'Cause most of them are really small.
I don't know off the top of my head, but I do know we have well over $1 million in the bank. And most townships will operate in South Dakota on less than $10,000 a year.
Right. You got to be the richest township.
We are by far.
So,
And the average income is crazy out there. I mean, I'm the poor white trash out there.
yeah, but the main role, and people don't know about townships, the main role of a township is essentially gravel roads.
Exactly.
That's all you do,
Correct.
which is why you got involved with the
Spook Road.
Spook Road. I was going to call it Dead Road, but
Spook
Spook Road, which is a gravel road out in Split Rock Township, just off Highway 11,
Right south of Brandon.
right south of
Like
Brandon.
1 mile south of Brandon.
And why did Spook Road become an issue? Because it did. It became a big issue.
Well, for me, it was one day I come home when the neighbor called me at work and said, they're cutting our trees down. They're cutting our trees down. It's like, what? Well, they're out on the road cutting our trees down. So I go flying out there, and sure as heck, they're cutting trees out of the ditches in front of our house and the neighbor's house, and called the supervisor at the time, who now is a co-supervisor of mine, and please stop cutting our trees down. Well, then he came out and we talked, and they stopped it, and they were going through the township cutting trees out of the right-of-way, which is a duty of the townships. And a few other people got riled up because they were cutting trees down on Spook Road. If anybody's been down, you got these magnificent 150-year-old
Yeah.
trees that are just beautiful and been
Yeah.
there forever and never hurt a soul. And they
It's like
wanted
a
to cut
canopy.
It's beautiful. And they wanted to cut them down. So we got involved and went to the legislature, and we were kept running into dead-end roads, and finally said, you know what, one of us is going to have to go on the board. And the 3 people that I worked with the most, I'm not doing it. I said, you know what, done it before, I can do it again. Didn't want to because I knew, that my time was going to be taken up, and I love, as much as it doesn't seem like it, I love my privacy, and I love being alone out there in rural Minnehaha County. But when they want to cut $30,000 worth of trees out of my yard, then I get a little upset about it, which
Yeah.
technically is in the township's right away. But so
Matt,
I'm on the
Matt
board.
Staab,
and
Matt Staab's here. He is a current supervisor of the Split Rock Township out in rural Minnehaha County. He is former city commissioner of Sioux Falls back when we had those things, and he now just is kind of he's a bait shop owner. It's
There we go.
The ultimate career arc.
the funny
right?
thing about that whole thing is, when I was city commissioner years ago, people were hesitant to come up and talk to you or complain or say anything. But I tell you what, I can't go to Menards, I can't go to Sunshine, I can't go to Hy-Vee. Hey, where are the fish biting? I hear it every day. It's like, You just want to say, you know what? Come to the store and I'll ask you. I'm at Menards. I'm wherever I am.
Yeah.
Don't ask me. But
Yeah.
so it is what it is.
Do you fish? I mean, is that why you got?
I'm not a huge fisherman, but I do
just
fish.
sell the bait.
I love the outdoors. That's why we moved out to the country. And,
Yeah.
I used to hunt a lot, and I don't anymore. That's why I married my wife, was for the pheasant hunting out at her parents' place. But,
for the land.
I've given up on that. So
It's kind of a dowry.
exactly.
Yeah. So the bait shop, people love to fish here, though, don't they? I mean, it's really amazing how much fishing is like the number one leisure activity in this part of the country.
I think I read somewhere once per capita, South Dakota is like 1 or 2 for boats per resident.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, and I don't know if it's still true or not, but at one time supposedly we had more boats per capita. I don't know.
So this place is like a gold mine, right? I mean, if everybody's fishing, it's you're raking
Look at how
in.
I'm dressed,
Well,
and my 2002 pickup with 201,000 miles in the parking lot,
that just means you're
raking
frugal.
it in. We're raking it in there.
You're just frugal.
Well,
That's
there's
what
a
that
lot
means.
of people who come to Lewis and Clark Lake down by Yankton.
Yeah.
They bring their boats there.
Yeah.
And they
Correct.
probably got a few more up at Lake Oahe, too.
Correct.
And so they're coming in, they're buying worms, right? Is that basically
Worms,
you're a
minnows,
worm
bro.
salesman?
I sell dog food, high-end dog food. Patrick, come in sometime.
I
Don't be a
should.
stranger. You got a dog, don't you?
No, I don't have a dog, and
Well,
I
then
don't
get one.
fish. I'm not going to get a dog.
You should,
No, you got to take those out like twice a day
or more.
or more.
Having a dog's like having a 4-year-old child. I'm just not into it.
Right, but you live out in the
a cat
country.
guy.
You just open the door, and the dogs go run wild
Correct.
and kill rabbits, and you don't worry about them until they want to come back
Correct.
in. Well, that's different from where I live. I live in the urban center.
Well, get a little dog. Like I said, I sell high-end dog food. So I know more about dog food and dogs' bowel habits than I ever, 30 years ago
Let's
when I'm
not.
sitting in a bar stool in Vermillion, South Dakota. If you'd have told me, you're going to know more about dog food than anybody in the state, I'll go, yeah, right. But I do.
So the dog food's what keeps you going then?
You bet.
What is high-end dog food?
Origin, Natural Balance, Canaday, Nutrisource. I got it all.
Who buys?
25 different kinds.
Like-
You'd be surprised, Patrick. My average customer is probably a 45-year-old woman.
Yep.
It's weird.
So you carry a lot of dog food out to the car.
We do. That's our, please and thank you are spoken at Northview. And if a female, I'm a sexist male, I don't care. If a woman comes in and if they carry the dog food out, the employee will be fired.
Well, that's kind of
You're
harsh,
not.
isn't it?
It is harsh, but
It's a big bag of dog food, though.
it's a big bag. Even
Customer-
little ones we carry out.
That's just customer service.
It is
Good
extraordinary.
customer service.
But nobody wants to hear about this. Let's talk about hot topics here.
No, we're going to. Coming up after the news, we're going to hit a lot of politics. People wonder what happened to you. People
Nobody
ask me
cares,
all the time.
Patrick. Nobody cares.
Whatever happened to Matt Staab? He was on the cover of all those Tempests, and then he
Two of
just
them, from what I understand.
faded into the background. We never heard from him again.
Disgruntled, and you
Disgruntled
never even
City
see him at a
Commissioner.
Canaries game anymore.
Why do they call you disgruntled?
That's a mutual friend of ours started that 20 years ago, whatever. So it's just actually I think Boone Man penned it.
See, Boone Man, one of my weird friends. I think he actually is where that comes from.
Ooh, the circle has now become
Yes.
complete.
Correct. See,
Yes.
now there's an interesting story about Boone Man that goes, but that would take 20 minutes to tell, and who cares about that? So
He's just Sioux Falls' original superhero.
He is.
You can hear on this program most Mondays.
see, when I got elected, we laid down gauntlet challenges to each other, which have never been carried out, by the way.
Well,
It was just
you'll you'll have to tell us about that
All right, after the break.
after the break, which is coming up in a couple of seconds.
Oh, then we have a little time. I can tell.
no,
It takes
no,
2
no,
seconds.
do it. Stop. We're going to be right back with more from disgruntled former City Commissioner Matt Staab after the news with Dan Peters on 1140 KSOO. 434 on the Talk of Sioux Falls, 1140 KSOO, and we are continuing our conversation with Matt Staab, former disgruntled City Commissioner.
Formerly disgruntled. I'm currently disgruntled.
Currently disgruntled.
I'm a former commissioner, but I'm
disgruntled
currently
former
disgruntled.
commissioner Matt Staab and current interrupter Matt Staab. Wait for the questions, all right, Staab? We'll have Matt here for
Supervisor Staab to you.
the county Split Rock Township supervisor Matt Staab. So you were city commissioner.
Okay, before we go on,
yeah,
Ray and Dee Lalley, what
Yep.
was your relation to them?
Ray Lalley's father and my grandfather were brothers.
Because Ray and Dee were my godparents.
Really, I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
Oh, they were great people.
Awesome people.
Everybody knows Ray Lalley and John Lalley because for a long, long time they were the only
Bail bondsmen
in the city. So people would call our house in the middle of the night, and I'd say, "Sorry, dude,
Got to call the other house.
wrong number."
Anyway, I had to get that out.
That's
by the way.
okay. That's a little just more North
More
End history.
South Sioux Falls North End history.
Yeah, there you go. So you were city commissioner at the end of the reign of the city commission. So you have a unique perspective on this whole strong mayor city council form, which we've had now for 3 mayors.
Correct.
3 mayors, 3 full mayors, 3 8-year terms, basically. So we're 24 years into this thing. What do you think?
To be honest, I don't know there was any difference from the old to the new.
Because you were not a fan of bringing in the new. Obviously, had a job. You were
Correct.
getting
It was a
paid.
very nice paying job for
Yes.
when you're 28, 29 years old.
Right.
And, I was on TV and famous and all this, and that's what I wanted.
Bomb
I thought.
thrower.
You bet.
Yeah.
Instead of you got 5 people arguing, you got 9 arguing now.
Mm-hmm.
You still have the tit for tat. The one thing that I get people coming, I still to this day get people yelling at me about the baseball stadium or this or that. Why did you do? 30 years later, it's like, let it go, people. The one thing is there doesn't seem to be any accountability for anybody. The mayor blames the council blames the mayor. Back in the day, if you had a park question, you called me. If you had a water question, you called Gary. If you had a cop question, you called either Stensland or Skadson. Now who do you call? But then again, we're also a lot bigger town,
Right.
so you don't
Things have
have that.
changed.
You don't have that. Call him and he'll take care of it, or call her and take care of it. Lila hunking, synonymous with potholes.
Right. And
30 years later.
what was it? Don't blame me. There was a bumper sticker, the very famous
Correct.
Lila hunking story. Yeah, and before that, it was 3 commissioners.
Yes.
Did you support them moving to 5?
I was pretty young when that
Yeah.
happened. I didn't really care.
But that was really the old boys network back
Oh,
then.
my gosh.
When Noby was in office.
Oh, my
former,
gosh.
Former host of
Dick-
a program in this time
Dick
slot.
Peterson, Harold Wingler.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
We're talking stories here that
Yeah.
probably can't to this day be told.
And won't be told here on 1140 KSOO with disgruntled former city commissioner Matt Staab.
That's
so
better.
Are you, in fact, disgruntled?
No, I'm happy.
Really?
I live in the country. Life is good.
You don't
know.
sound happy.
Well, I am, Patrick. What do you know?
Are you still a Republican?
No, I actually, because of Donald Trump and because of how crappy our legislature has become, and there's no other way to put it, we are becoming a corrupt state. The arrogance in Pierre is unbelievable.
It is.
Unbelievable. And Patrick, I was a dyed-in-the-wool conservative,
Yep.
Republican. I was a precinct committee man. I ran for the state Senate and lost. I went door-to-door for candidates. I did it all. And when Trump did what he did to Ted Cruz and the others, and right after the primary, I voted for Cruz, even though Trump had it wrapped up by then.
Yep.
The day after the primary, I went and registered as an independent.
Really?
So
You're that mad?
I've had it with the Republican Party. I haven't abandoned it. It has abandoned me.
So how do you class? You're still a conservative.
Oh, extremely, yes.
Yeah, that has.
So you're a whack liberal job in my eyes. I love you for it.
See, this
But-
is where it always goes wrong. The labeling. I asked him what he considers himself, and then he called me something.
A whack liberal job.
In case you didn't hear it the first time.
Yeah, well, I think we'll have that tape. We'll have that one. I also have some tape that we're going to bring up sometime of Pat O'Brien, famed South Dakota
I
sportscaster.
listened to that. I was listening that day.
Famed South Dakota sportscaster Pat O'Brien calling me an unmentionable.
I watched that on. You talking about when you were doing it the other
Yeah,
place?
the other
yeah,
place,
I
my
watched that
video
day.
show.
I tuned in for that very reason.
I used
And I
that.
thought you handled yourself very well, by the
Thank
way.
you. Thank you
I
very
thought
much.
Pat was low blowing.
Well,
I'm jesting
maybe
with you.
we'll get
He
him
wasn't.
maybe we'll get him on the show.
He wasn't jesting. I am.
Maybe I'll get Pat O'Brien on this show. That'd
All
be
right,
great.
so let's go back to the legislature.
So this is
whatever.
we're here talking with Matt Staab on 1140 KSOO, and we're talking about the legislature and how you believe that it's corrupt. Not
Not
well,
so much corrupt as the arrogance.
Arrogant.
The arrogance is
Where do
coming
you think
out their
that
ears.
comes from?
Too much power, too much. The Democrats can't do anything to them,
Right.
So there's no accountability,
Right.
and these chairmanships in these legislative committees, they're running. They're acting like it's the 70s and everything's behind closed doors and everything's decided. And like I said, I was part of that whole thing for years. The lobbyist, oh my gosh, the power that an average lobbyist has is incredible. Why? Because they're writing darn nice checks to these guys. And, having been an elected politician and now again, and I guess I am still one, these people, so many people that run for office, who would be dumb enough to run for office? Well, people that want the power and the attention and all that. It's not the person that wants to do any good, because who wants to go through that crap? They want to hang on to this, and they need these checks written.
How much do you think? And we're back, 4:45 on 1140 KSOO with Matt Staab, formerly disgruntled former city commissioner. We're not even going to call you disgruntled anymore. We're going to let that go. We are watching the weather here. Producer Dan Peters is hot on that. If there is a tornado warning for parts of Moody and Brookings County, you're going to want to pay attention to the latest there. And if there's any more updates on that, Dan will cut right in. And we won't mind, will we, Matt?
No, I want to know who does the bumper music. Was that you picking that? Because that was pretty cool, too, coming in. Or do you pick them out, Patrick?
No, they don't.
They've given me that responsibility.
That was a good job there. I like that one a lot. You're going to have to get me the name and the title of that one.
That's why Uber producer Dan Peters is here. By the way, you and I were both at the Jason Isbell concert. You're a huge Jason Isbell.
Pronounce it correctly.
Isbell? Well, you've seen him so many times.
8 times.
Yeah, because Isabel is a small community in the central portion of South Dakota.
And my niece's name, yes.
Isbell. But he was great.
Let me what did you think of him?
I thought he was just fantastic. I had heard him, and I knew everybody was saying how great he was, but I was sort of became a convert at that show.
Yeah, he's great.
I didn't know what to expect, and it was fantastic.
He's going to be in Fargo in September. I'm going up.
Why are you kind of lost it on? You become kind of a groupie for Jason Isbell.
I'm for him. I mean, weird. It's weird. It's
kind of sad.
But I'll go. My wife and I will go anywhere. We've been to. I flew up to Anchorage to see Trampled by Turtles.
Oh, really? I love Trampled
ago.
by Turtles. I've seen
they
them
broke up.
times. Yeah,
it's pretty sad.
The lead singer was here not so long ago, and I missed that show.
His sister lives down here.
Oh, really? Did you go to that show?
Yes, I did.
Was it good?
When he came down by himself?
It's not quite the same.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
So
I have my memories. Matt Staab is here. He is now the current supervisor, one of the supervisors over in Split Rock Township, fighting for trees that were for Spook Road. But we're going to talk about real politics now, okay?
Yes,
sir. Cool with that?
Sure.
We're at 1140 KSOO. Healthcare debates going on. I haven't had any updates, so I don't know what's happening. Probably a debacle. I lost it earlier in the show.
I was listening. I was listening.
Okay.
I should have been here.
What should we do, Matt? What should we do?
This is where I'm going to irritate 95% of the people in the world, is where in the United States Constitution says you get health care. I do not see health care as a right.
Why?
Because, for it to be a right, for you to have, and Rand Paul did this very eloquently, I believe, on the floor of the Senate or at a committee hearing meeting. Yeah. For it to be a right, that means you get it when you need it. That means you're forcing someone else to provide it for you. So where does their rights begin and where do theirs rights end? Why is it a right? 40 years ago, 50 years ago.
I would say that the notion of it being a right is one thing. The notion of it being good government for the health and welfare of the country going forward are two different things. I can admit that it's not a right.
Okay.
Because at some measure, but is it a human right?
There's the moral part. I'll get that. I'll capitulate the moral part of it. We're good Christian, good Catholic North End boys. We're supposed to take care of each other.
Right.
But does that, again, this is where I'm going to start irritating people even more than I probably already am. Let's say Patrick Lalley smokes and drinks and don't come home at night, however that song goes.
Yep.
And doesn't take care of himself.
Right.
350 pounds overweight.
Right.
Has no health care insurance.
Right.
Whereas Dan Peters goes to work every day, is fit, got a beautiful wife, couple of good-looking kids.
Which is basically the truth.
And one of the kids ends up with cancer, and you end up with cancer.
Yep.
Well, the kid with cancer, that's also true in my part.
Oh, see? So
this. But what I'm getting at is, do we put you on the same field as Dan, who has worked his butt off, saved money, paid his health insurance premiums, or Patrick Lalley, who's some slob out there? Yeah. Life isn't fair.
Life isn't a zero-sum game either, but good government kind of is. You have to arrive
what
at a bottom
level of care
number.
should you get? An irresponsible
Well,
person.
what if I walk into
should they
a
get the same
hospital?
as Dan? Let's say Dan and his wife have saved $100,000. They've taken out the insurance. They have it all. Their kid gets sick. They pour everything in it. Which a parent. Why shouldn't you have to?
Well,
Life
because
is a
that's
risk.
why by the spin of the dial, the luck of the draw, if you don't have insurance, you are basically bankrupt versus somebody who
Get
did have
insurance.
Well, I have
Go
insurance
get
right
it.
now.
I get it's too
crappy.
expensive. But that whole we get into the legal, the lawsuits and the fancy buildings and how much does a doctor need to make. I'm with you on that one. I'm with you on that one.
But that's not even it. I mean, hospitals in underserved areas are going broke. They will go broke if they cut Medicaid and if there's no base level of coverage.
I get that.
It's not about
if
Sanford.
we as people don't take care of each other, then it's going to eventually gravitate towards a group of people in black robes, like you're seeing in England, where you're saying, well, is this person going to be good enough to be continued in health care, and an 11-month-old child who could have been saved if decisions have been made earlier instead of having it been sunk in the courts for 3 months.
And that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. But there are parts of Europe where they have base care, and then you can buy additional care. So at some measure,
to a degree, I agree with you with that one. But does Patrick, the overweight, smoking, drinking, snorting heroin guy get the same care that Dan Peters' beautiful young daughter gets? And then along those lines, because Dan's so successful, he's got that $100,000. Can he spend that and get better care than Patrick does? In my opinion, yes. If I can afford it, I'm sorry that people don't make the money that perhaps they maybe should. You and I went to college. We made the sacrifices.
Right.
You're making the sacrifices now with
to
your
serve
health
the
insurance.
people.
My wife works for full-time because of health care, and she works for Avera. I mean, still, but sorry, that's the arrogance in me, and I'll be the first to admit it, that we have the resources. I should be able to go and say, you know what, I'm cutting in the front of the line because I can afford it. I've taken care of it. We've done our insurance. We've saved the money. We've made the sacrifices.
I understand that.
My kid goes in front of the line, or as close as I can get them.
I don't have a lot of problem with that notion,
All right.
but you have to provide a base level of care.
I'll
For the
go with you
record,
on that
by the
one.
way, if people are just tuning in, Matt's description of me is not exactly correct.
It's close, though.
I don't snort heroin. The rest of it is pretty
It's
fine.
snort. You don't smoke it.
Snort-
I don't know. What
you
do you
said
do
snort.
with heroin? I don't
What-
even
You
know.
inject it, but we'll come back to that. Matt Staab is here, and this is the Patrick Lalley Show on 1140 KSOO. 4:55 here on the Talk of Sioux Falls, 1140 KSOO. We'll continue to watch that severe weather for you. And we'll be coming back with Matt Staab here in just a moment. Friday, Sounds of the Falls. This week it's at 6:30 down by the Overlook Cafe at Falls Park. This week, Brian Masick. So you may want to make that. Matt Staab is here. He's former city commissioner, current township supervisor, and basically a Renaissance man. And so that's why we have him in. Matt, we were talking about healthcare, and we're gonna let that go for just a little bit. I had an email from a guy who was taking me to task on this Russia thing, and then you were going to take me to task on it. And we don't have a lot of time to go into it, but do you honestly believe that some of these folks who the contacts they have, whether it's the ambassador, whether it's the lawyer, whether it's the all these people, that they are not in fact spies?
If the folks could see me shake my head.
You're shaking your head.
Patrick Henry. I was going to call you Patrick Henry. Patrick Lalley.
Patrick Henry Lalley was in fact my grandfather.
Sweet.
There you go.
Sweet. My big thing goes back to the influence of the elections. How do you influence? How many tens of thousands of precincts are there? If there was influence in the elections, it was Donna Brazil in the.
Don't mistake me. I don't think that Hillary Clinton would have won, but that's not the problem. The problem is that you're cavorting with people who are essentially known intelligence agents.
I don't know that for a fact.
I think it's just naivete. I don't think they did it on purpose. But don't lie about it then. It's the lying. It's always the lying.
But the big question is, when are the Brass Holes going to play next? Do the folks out there know about the Brass Holes? Because they're near and dear to my heart.
The Brass Holes are a little combo that the Boone Man and I and some other folks would come in and out. We only had one real guy that could play anything, and it was a brass combo. We used to do occasional gigs, the Brass Holes.
Could a person like myself or my wife and I will become member in our 30th here in a year or two? Could we hire you? I mean, would $75 do it?
that would be the most money we ever made.
Okay, then 50 then? Well, but this is 2 years down the road. I mean, Mrs. Staab's pretty generous. We might kick in 100.
Yeah. No, that would be enough to get us back together.
As long as Boone doesn't get to eat. I mean, you've seen that man eat.
It's not pretty.
Wow.
So you don't want to have that happen. So the Boone Man, of course, a regular guest on this show, one of my weird friends. And I think actually Matt Staab is now one of my weird friends.
You and I have always kind of been friends. We've
Yeah,
always
that's true, but you weren't on the
hovered
radio.
around each other. We led parallel lives.
We did. And
Same neighborhood, same
And now
friends.
our lines are crossing once again.
I'll probably never be invited back again. But
No, you will be, because you fill time like nobody I've ever seen. Matt Staab, former city commissioner, current township
Disgruntled one.
supervisor out by Brandon somewhere. He lives in the
Split
country.
Rock Township,
Split
the best
Rock.
township in the state of the South Dakota.
They
The
got all
only
the
one
money.
with a website,
You got
I might
all the
add.
money. SplitRockTownship.com.
Exactly.
How did I know that? Thanks for being here, Matt. This
Thank
was
you for
a
having me. It was
blast.
the most fun I've had in 30 or 40 minutes.
Join us tomorrow. Jody Schwan from Sioux Falls Business will be here.
By the way.
Be quiet. My weird friend is Mr. Hudson, and he's going to talk about, and Kelsey Passolt from KDLT, also great. This is the Patrick Lalley Show on 1140 KSOO.